Hi, I'm Stephen Kersley. I am Master Distiller at BrewDog Distilling Co. Follow me and I'll show you how we make 500 cuts Botanical rum. This is our distillery, where we make a whole range of spirits, from vodka to gin to rum. We're going to talk in depth about how we make our Botanical rum, and I'll give you a sneak peek at a lot of the other innovation that we're doing around the rum category as well for the future. We're going to start off with our about 500 cuts Botanical rum, because I'm conscious that it's sitting in front of you in your glass. This is a rum that we have worked on for about a year now, and we launched it at the end of last year. And one of the key things that we wanted to do was to make a rum which was truly spice-led. And a lot of the botanicals that I'll talk to as we get through the kind of discussion is why and how we have created that level of spice within the drink. So what you'll see here is an amazingly dark, rich color. That actually comes from all of the botanicals that we use. We use 100% natural ingredients. So when it comes to making the rum, we steep the botanicals in the white rum for a period of about 20 hours. And that's where all of the rum is extracting color, is extracting flavor, and creates this lovely, rich, dark color. Nose-wise, on the nose, you're going to get two things: spice and sweetness. Sweetness is coming on the form of vanilla, but spice first. And that's why, sorry, the spice is why we were inspired to make this rum. There's a lot of rums out there which are, for me, not truly spiced, category leaders. What we wanted to do when we were building the recipe for this was to build in big flavors, authentic flavors, but truly spice-led flavors. So things like allspice, things like ginger, clove, nutmeg, cinnamon. We've got tonka bean as well. Tonka bean, an amazing botanical, which drives a lot of almondy and marzipan aromas. Really layered, but importantly, this drink is balanced. And it's one that you can sip neat over ice, or works really well in a long drink. For example, my favorite way of drinking this rum is with ginger beer and a big ledge of lime. Just the spice of the ginger beer and the spice that naturally comes from the rum just balances off really well. Makes a classic rum and coke, no problem. But for me, the magic is when you get this into a long drink with a ginger beer.
Fantastic.
On the aroma, spice-led up front, ginger, nutmeg, cinnamon, allspice is a big feature in there as well. And on the palate, it's sweet, but then the ginger just really, really kicks in. That sweetness is coming from a little muscovado sugar that we add just to round out the palate. If we didn't do that, the astringency or the dryness of the botanicals that we use would be really, really overbearing and overpowering. So we add a little bit of sweetness in there just to round it out. And you get the vanilla on the finish as well. Cool. So a bit back to front, but we've talked about how it tastes, how it looks, how it smells, how you should drink it. And now I'm going to tell you how we make it. First of all, we start with molasses. Molasses is a byproduct of the sugarcane refining process, and it's a bit like black treacle. Our job is to pitch yeast into that black treacle and ferment all of the wonderful sugars that are on offer to create not just alcohol, but not just CO2, but lots of esters as well. Follow me to the fermentation tank, and I'll be able to show you what a fermentation of molasses looks like. So you can immediately see it's very, very dark. When we get the molasses delivered, it comes in 28-ton tanker at a time, and we have the painstaking job of unloading it, which is the messiest job in the world. Before we start the fermentation, we add a lot of hot water into this tank. This is a 10,000 litre tank. About a third of it is filled with molasses and the rest is water. The reason we have to add water is because molasses is so thick, so sticky, that if we added the yeast straight to the molasses, it would just sit on top of it and do very little. And to get it into solution, the yeast needs to be comfortable and it needs to be hydrated. So we hydrate the molasses to get it to about 80 brix, which is the concentration of sugar that we're looking for before we add the yeast. We're really specific about what yeast we add, and we did a lot of trials to kind of fine-tune this part of the process because we feel it's really important. And we use a kind of traditional rum yeast, a Saccharomyces strain, but we also supplement that with a red wine yeast strain. And red wine yeasts, as you can imagine, are known for producing a lot of high chain esters, things like ethyl decanoate, ethyl octanoate, which are big, waxy, dark fruit-led esters. And when we add that yeast into the molasses, that yeast will purposely produce those esters. And what that means when we get into the distillation side of things is that those esters will actually follow all the way through into the final spirit. So once we've been fermenting for about 5 days, we have a 10%, 10.5% ABV, what we call a wash. We need to distill this to remove water and to concentrate not just the alcohol, but also the flavor as well. And we do that in the still house. So I'll pop this down. So our still house is super versatile. We have a number of different styles of spirits that we can create just using these two pot stills. If you're familiar with distillation, you'll know pot distillation is done in these two here. But then we also have these kind of flute-looking instruments, which are called rectification columns. And they are very simply put, they are useful for concentrating ethanol or concentrating alcohol to the exclusion of water. We don't use the columns when it comes to making our rum. Everything is just 100% pure pot distilled. And we do a double pot distillation, similar to how you'd actually make a Scotch whiskey. And we do that in this still. The first distillation is the wash distillation. What we're going to create there is a low wines, which is, again, very, very similar to the first step in making Scotch whiskey. That first distillation will yield an alcohol of around about 22 to 25%. And we do 2 of these distillations. We then give the still a good clean, and we take the process or the proceeds of that distillation, and we put it back into the still to be redistilled to make our white rum. So on the second distillation, again, very much like a Scotch whiskey, we will take 3 cuts of the spirit: the heads, the hearts, and the tails. The heads, there's a lot of aldehydes, a lot of methanol in the heads. These are flavors which are quite off-putting. So we make quite an early cut to make sure that we're reducing the amount of those particular compounds in the spirit, in the final spirit. But towards the ends of the heads, there's a lot of esters that start to come through, which we find actually are really aromatic in a beneficial way. So we have an early cut on our heads. We then do a spirit run of about 5 hours, and towards the end of that spirit run, we will have the higher chain alcohols starting to come through. Things like butanol, propanol, hexanol, things that we really, really don't want in the final product. So we make a cut quite early again into faints, and we make sure that we exclude faints as far as is possible from the final product. What does the flavor of the product that we've made taste like? Well, it's super aromatic. Big tropical fruits, things like pineapple, mango. We've got a hell of a lot of dark fruits as well, in the form of kind of prunes, raisins, and a little bit of strawberry, lychee sorts of flavors as well. And then once we've collected that spirit, we have a couple of options. One, we could put it into casks, like we have done. A lot of rum is maturing on site here in Ellen in ex-bourbon casks. We've also got ex-Oloroso sherry and ex-Pedro Jimenez sherry casks, which were maturing in a warehouse just over the road. And this is a program of dark or aged rum that we're going to continue on for years to come as we build our reserves of aged stock rum. For the remainder of the rum, though, that we do not fill into cask, we make our botanical rum, our 500 cuts. And as I mentioned, this is where we infuse flavor in the form of botanicals. The recipe is twofold. The first is very similar to how we make a gin. This is our gin still in the corner here, pardon the furniture. But the little gin still here is where we will add our white rum, and we will also add our botanicals. 4 of them to be precise. Szechuan peppercorn, we will add orange peel, we will add green cardamom, we'll add a bit of lavender as well. And we will treat that like a gin distillation. Where the white rum is placed inside, botanicals are added, we start the distillation, and we take and we collect what is essentially a white botanical, a white spiced rum. We put that aside, we take some more white rum from the previous distillation, and then we're going to put that into a tank, and we're going to steep that with more of the spice-led botanicals, things like the ginger, the allspice, the nutmeg, the cinnamon, the tonka bean. They are going to sit in that tank with the rum for about 20 hours. And after 20 hours, once all the rum is extracted, the flavor from the botanicals, we will filter out the solids, and we will have a beautiful aromatic spiced rum. Then we have to blend. So we take the botanical rum which has been distilled, and we take the botanical rum which has been macerated, and we infuse them together. And the reason we do that is because there's some botanicals that just present much better after being distilled. One of those is orange peel and Szechuan peppercorn. Orange peel has a beautiful aromatic zestiness when it's distilled, but when you steep it or when you macerate it, it comes across as really bitter. So we're choosing our processes and our botanicals very carefully so that we kind of get the best representation of the flavors that we want. After we've created the blend, we add a little bit of sugar, and then we bottle. We bottle. A labor-intensive process in terms of getting the botanicals into the rum, but it's a bit of a labor of love. We think it is the best representation of a spice rum that we could possibly make, and we're really proud of it, which is amazing. Is there any questions that you have?
So I kind of for those that are watching this now, I'm pre-recording this. We're pre-recording this, and I've got my little girls jumping around and making all kinds of comments in the background. So I'm trying to mute her out. That was a fascinating run through. Honestly, there was far more detail than I actually expected. So thank you very much for that.
No problem. We've
got a little bit of time, so it's interesting for me to know how a company as famous as BrewDog for beer and things, where does spirits sort of sit into this for you? I mean, like, this is something small and that's going to grow, or how, what's the future look like?
Yeah, I mean, we set up BrewDog Distilling Co. back in 2017 with the same aspirations as I suppose the beer did back in 2007, but we're just on different paths. So if you cast your mind back, BrewDog in its infancy was rebelling against the kind of mundane and bland lagers of the beer world. Our purpose is obviously slightly different, and as I mentioned, we're on a different journey. We're on a mission to make our spirits 100% from scratch, and we want to really put our craftsmanship into the bottle and share that with aficionados, enthusiasts, dedicated spirits drinkers alike. And we want to excite people within the spirits category. We want to recruit new people to the spirits category, whether that be rum, gin, whiskey in the future. You know, like we're not actually, the two aren't mutually exclusive, beer and spirits. You know, a lot of people who love beer, like our co-founders, James and Martin, they also love spirits as well. So, you know, there's a lot of synergy between the two. And, you know, if you think about the majority of making, or the majority of whiskies and vodkas that are made, they all start with the same ingredients. They all start with grain. And we have half the process taken care of just by the virtue of the fact that we have a brewery here. Naturally, the next step after brewing is distilling. So it feels like a natural sort of succession.
Yeah. And you know what? I like to think I keep my ear to the ground with what's going on. The spice rum we obviously knew about. I didn't realize you guys were laying down stuff for the future into cask as well. Have I missed that, or did you just kind of share us into a little secret?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't kind of publicized or made a bit of a big deal of it yet. But I think, you know, as we get to a point where we're happy with the liquid and how it's tasting, we're thinking about, you know, an inaugural release for an aged rum, then it's something that we'll definitely start to beat the drum a bit louder on. But what we initially set out to do was, you know, create a portfolio of rum that has the same level of innovation that we're applying to our whiskey creation. And a lot of that comes down to dissecting the process at every stage and understanding where you can, I suppose, influence flavor. So whilst it might not sound overly groundbreaking, excuse me, the work that we did on getting that yeast recipe right and the fermentation profile right, and understanding actually once you brought that wash into the stills, the amount of nuance and flavor that you can create just by playing tunes with the ingredients upstream of the distillation process is incredible. And we find this with whiskey as well, but with rum it was, you know, a bit of a uncharted territory for us as distillers. Being in Scotland, you know, rum isn't the national drink. It's not what we're known for creating. And, you know, taking inspiration, we do this a lot. We take inspiration from the traditional processes that a particular style of spirit has, and then try and unravel that a little bit and weave in some of our own imagination and innovation. So plenty of work still to be done, but the signs so far are really good.
I have to say that the way you described the base white rum before you start the spicing process kind of got my juices flowing just a little bit as well. Do you feel that releasing a white rum to market was something that you didn't want to do? You wanted to. Spice rum is popular. We know that it is one of the fastest growing categories. Botanical rums, it's super popular. But you wanted to skip over white rum, perhaps?
It wasn't a conscious decision. I think the white rum, you know, for me actually is, I'd be proud to put it into a bottle.
Can I have a tot as well? Could you send me a wee tot?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no problem. Absolutely fine. We'll get something arranged once we distill that batch of wash that's in the fermentation tank at the moment. I think for me, we have a limited amount of capacity in this still house. I mean, it looks quite large when I'm standing in front of it, but the challenge that we have is that all of the equipment that you see here is intrinsically linked to each style of spirit that we make. And what I mean by that is, when I'm making rum, I can't be making vodka. And when I'm making vodka, I can't be making whiskey. So we have to actually be, you know, a little bit strategic in terms of what we launch. And we were massively kind of interested in reimagining spice rum. And that's where our heads went to when we were thinking about rum. And also we wanted to start laying down a significant amount of stock into cask. So when the pie gets cut, there's only so much that can go around. And white rum, until we kind of increase the capacity of the still house, will be back burner. But, you know, that's not, so never say never. We will get around to launching it when we have the capacity to allow us to do so.
Fantastic. It feels like this is a very long-term plan for you. I mean, so you have different spirits that you're producing, and it's obviously, I just looking at the huge amount of copper and stainless steel there. There's a big investment. So this is something. I mean, what's the pickup on the botanical rum been like initially? Does it exceed expectations? Does it feel in line with your hopes and dreams?
Yeah, I mean, like for us, getting the word out has been the most important thing. So we've done a great deal of work on trying to kind of engage with our the BrewDog community and through our bars network, and I think like everybody in the last 4 months, progress has been stymied just by virtue of the circumstances we find ourselves in. So we have our routes to market established, but I don't think we've probably got the truest representation of the rum's potential just by virtue of the pandemic that we find ourselves in. But like for me, we love the quality of the liquid. We think the label and the brand world is really compelling. For those of you who don't know the story around the inspiration for the brand and the rum itself was an Aberdonian woman called Elizabeth Blackwell. She was a botanical illustrator, and we're going back centuries here, but she created the first kind of book of botanicals called The Curious Herbal, and this was the kind of groundbreaking book that was initially actually designed for kind of medicinal purposes with regards to a lot of the botanicals being in that book, being applicable for modern medicine at that time. She had a very interesting life, and her kind of legacy still lives on to this day. And the Chelsea Botanical Gardens has the kind of one of the first editions of that book on show at the gardens itself. And like when we dug into a lot of what she did, when she put pen to paper, it was incredibly inspiring and also nice to know that it was an Aberdonian that had done it. So we kind of drew on that quite heavily, and whilst we had a really clear understanding, I think, of what we wanted the rum to be, there was certainly things in that book which drew out some kind of ideas, and we drew inspiration from.
Fantastic. So it feels like so you try something and it sort of led you on a little bit further, in develop. Do you think? I mean, I say it's super early days, but do you see the sort of the botanical range expanding?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think like anything, the category is unexplored. It's almost a new category, and I think there's the best way of making a trend or setting a trend, gaining momentum, is to have more than one person doing it. So the encouragement I would give to others who have been toying with ideas of botanicals and rum and different flavor iterations of rum is to give it get involved with it, get stuck in. I mean, if you're a gin distiller right now, you're halfway there to be able to do it. So I think as a distiller, our job, our prerequisite for our job is to naturally be a little bit curious and innovative. And we like to work with botanicals. We like to work with different raw materials. So it's actually a really good fit for us with regards to playing tunes with the flavor of the white rum, and then having that layered up with the different botanicals, which are going to drive more flavor.
That's fantastic. Thank you. This little slot was always going to be a problem to fit everything in one go and ask all the questions, but I think we've covered a lot of ground there. So I'm going to say thank you very, very much for your time on that.
No problem.
Honestly, I don't think there's anything more we can ask. I mean, it'd be very fulsome. I got to say though, I am super excited to try both the white and anything that comes out of cask. So it feels like it feels like this is a thing.
We have one more bottle.
Oh,
so this is our distiller's cut. don't know if you can see that well. But this is a rum, a botanical rum that has its roots based in 500 cuts, but 50% of the rum in here has been aged in ex Oloroso sherry casks. And it's about 16 months old. So it's a kind of hybrid between, you know, the classic 500 cuts. We've also added a little bit of bitter orange peel into the distillation phase of this rum. So it's kind of taken in a different direction. You've got a lot of different or a little bit more fruity aromas that are coming from the ex Oloroso cask, but very much rooted in the kind of 500 cuts flavor profile. So this is only available actually on our online shop, but tastes great, and again, works extremely well, versatile in long drinks. My personal favorite, as always, with ginger beer.
That's superb. Honestly, exciting times. A company to watch in the future. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate that, and a quick shout out to Hannah for being a fantastic camera lady through the whole process as well. Thank you very much, Stephen.